Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine leaving, like $500,000, maybe even over $1 million, on the table over your career. Just leaving it there. Does that sound wild?
It absolutely does. But according to some pretty compelling data we're digging into today, that's potentially the real long-term cost.
For who?
For the more than half of people who don't negotiate their salary when they get a job offer.
Over half. This 54% of people, this is according to data pulled from LinkedIn, right? They didn't even try to negotiate their salary for their last job offer.
Mm-hmm.
That statistic alone, it really grabbed our attention. And it's why we're diving deep today.
We're tackling something that, it feels daunting to many salary negotiations, especially in the U.S. job market.
Yeah, scary even.
But it's fundamentally one of the most impactful things you can actually do for your financial future.
Exactly. So we've taken this stack of sources. We've got articles from places like Forbes and Rizafit, those insights from that huge LinkedIn data analysis we mentioned.
Yeah, that was a big one.
And even some candid real-world anecdotes from online forums, Reddit, and places like that to really get to the core of this.
So our mission today is to kind of pull out the most important nuggets.
Right, and give you, the listener, the practical strategies and hopefully the confidence to ask for and actually get the compensation you truly deserve.
We'll explore the surprising data on why you absolutely must negotiate. We'll walk through how to prepare the research, quantifying your value, then mastering the conversation itself, looking at negotiating the total package, not just the base salary.
Right, beyond the base.
And we'll touch on navigating things like multiple offers or seeking advice specific to your own background.
Yeah, the goal is simple, really. It's to shift from feeling, intimidated by negotiation.
Which is understandable.
To feeling empowered because you understand the process and you have a clear roadmap. So let's start right where the data hits hardest.
Okay. Why negotiation isn't optional? The data and the dollars.
That 54% statistic, more than half of candidates not negotiating their last offer, it's just staggering.
It is.
And it's staggering because of the long-term financial implications, right?
It really is. That initial salary, it's not just the money you get in your first paycheck. It's the baseline.
The foundation.
Exactly. The baseline for every future raise you get within that company. And critically, it heavily influences the offers you get when you move to new jobs later on. Each subsequent salary negotiation or offer kind of builds on the one before it.
And those differences, they compound over time, like interest in a savings account, but, for your earnings.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The LinkedIn source cites an estimate. I think it was based on an assumption from Harvard's Law School.
Okay.
If you start at, let's say, $55,000 a year and you get an average 5% raise annually over a 40-year career.
Which sounds reasonable.
Yeah, pretty standard. Yeah. Negotiating even a relatively modest initial increase, maybe just a few $1,000s, that can balloon into over $600,000 in additional lifetime earnings.
Hold on. Over $600,000 from one negotiation at the start. That number feels almost unbelievable.
And, that's arguably a conservative scenario. That's based on staying at one company, getting typical annual raises.
Right.
The source also mentions Investopedia data, which points out that strategic job changes often come with much bigger salary bumps, maybe 10% to 20%, sometimes even more.
Because companies pay market rate for new talent?
Yeah, exactly. So if you factor in changing jobs strategically over a 40-year career and you negotiate each offer along the way, the estimated difference from not negotiating, it could potentially exceed $1.7 million.
Wait. Over $1.7 million? Yeah. That's genuinely life-changing money. It's not just leaving a little bit extra on the table. It's leaving a potential fortune on the table over your working life, just by skipping that one conversation.
It really underscores just how high the stakes are. This isn't just about maximizing your income right now. It's about securing your financial future.
And it affects how you feel, too. Forbes mentioned that, right? A third of professionals aren't happy with their pay.
Exactly. 1/3 are dissatisfied with their current compensation. Think about that. The dissatisfaction, it's a major factor in job unhappiness. It affects motivation, financial stress, everything.
So, okay, the potential reward is massive. Why do so many people avoid it then? What are the fears? The LinkedIn data looked into this.
They did. The overwhelming primary fear cited by 50% of candidates in that survey.
Half of them.
Half. It's the fear of losing the job offer entirely if they dare to negotiate. It's that thought, oh no, if I ask for more, they'll just move on. They'll pick someone else.
Which is completely understandable. You've gone through the whole interview process. Maybe you've been looking for ages. You finally get that offer. The last thing you want is to blow it.
Absolutely. And there's a significant secondary fear, too.
Yeah.
About 35% worry about appearing greedy.
Or too money focused.
Exactly. Like it's the only thing you care about. These are valid emotional responses people might be having.
But this is where the data from the employer side is so important. It completely flips the script on those fears.
It really does. According to data from VidCruiter, this was cited in the LinkedIn source. The reality is strikingly different from that perception.
How different?
90% of employers say they have never pulled an offer just because a candidate tried to negotiate.
90%. Never.
Mm.
So that primary fear, the biggest one, losing the offer, the data says it basically never happens.
Almost never. And furthermore, 73% of employers are not offended by negotiations. They don't see it as like a negative thing about the candidate.
Okay, so they're not offended, they don't pull the offer. But do they actually expect it? Is it normal?
This is the kicker. 84% of employers expect candidates to negotiate.
They expect it.
Yes.
So it's not just something they tolerate. It's a standard anticipated part of the hiring process for the vast majority of companies.
Exactly. When you get an offer, especially that initial one, it's often just the company's starting point. Their opening bid, as you said.
It's a business transaction.
It is. And they anticipate a discussion about the terms, and that includes compensation.
Wow. That's such a fundamental mindset shift, isn't it? It takes negotiation from being this risky confrontation to being just a normal professional conversation that the company actually thinks you're going to initiate.
It really does. So the winning strategy that just jumps out from all this data, it's incredibly clear, even if, overcoming that internal hesitation takes practice.
What is it?
Always negotiate. The data shows overwhelmingly that you are highly unlikely to lose the offer, and you're extremely likely to get more.
How likely?
The LinkedIn data backs this up. 93% of candidates who negotiated did get more than the initial offer.
93%. Okay, that's a success rate you definitely want to be part of, right? So we know we must negotiate. It's almost expected.
Yeah.
But for over 90% of people to get more when they do it, they must be doing something right. How do you actually, do it effectively?
Okay, so that brings us to the crucial first step after you decide, yes, I'm going to negotiate, and that's laying the groundwork, essential preparation.
And here's another one of those eye-opening stats from LinkedIn. 33% of candidates don't prepare at all. A third
do zero preparation. And 65% spend less than 1 hour preparing.
Less than an hour? For something that could be worth hundreds of thousands or even millions over a career.
Exactly. This is where the opportunity lies. If the vast majority of other candidates are underprepared, then putting in some dedicated effort here gives you a huge advantage.
It's the difference between just hoping for a good outcome and strategically planning for one.
Precisely. It sounds like showing up to a really high-stakes meeting without doing your homework first.
Yeah, you wouldn't do that. So the fundamental winning strategy here is kind of non-negotiable itself, isn't it? Do your research.
Absolutely. The goal of your research is to understand the market value, specifically for your role in your geographic location, given your level of experience.
And it's not about what you want or what you feel you need.
No. It's about establishing your value based on objective external data. What is the market paying for this?
So where should someone even begin with that research? The sources mention a few places, right?
Yeah, start with reliable online salary aggregators. The sources point to Glassdoor, Salary.com. For tech roles, Levels.ifii is apparently very popular.
Okay.
H1bdata.info can also be useful, especially in tech and specialized fields, because it shows salaries that companies sponsored for work visas. That gives you insight into what they're willing to pay for specific skills.
So you're looking for more than just a single average salary number.
Definitely. You need the typical salary range. What's the lower end? What's the average or median? And what's the upper end? For your specific role in your city or region with your years of experience.
Okay, the range.
And industry-specific salary guides are gold mines. Firms like Robert Half publish these annually. The Robert Half source actually highlights that companies themselves use these guides to benchmark their own compensation bands.
Ah, so you're essentially using the same data they are. You're speaking their language.
Exactly. You're coming to the table referencing the same data points. It adds a lot of credibility.
Got it. So once you have that market range, what's next?
You need to adjust based on your specific qualifications compared to the job description. The LinkedIn source points this out explicitly.
How so?
Well, If the job asks for, say, 3 years of experience, but you bring 5 years of highly relevant experience, or maybe you have specialized skills they didn't list but would be really beneficial,
then your value is probably higher.
right, your value likely sits towards the higher end of that market range, or potentially even a bit above the typical band for that specific job title.
Okay, so this research helps you figure out the numbers you'll use in the actual conversation. Now, the sources strongly recommend preparing a salary range you'd like to achieve, not just a single fixed number.
Yes. Thinking in terms of a range gives you flexibility. It allows the negotiation to unfold naturally. We saw this come up in online forums like Reddit, where people talked about successfully using a range.
And is there a target within that market range you should aim for?
Based on the Lincoln data about successful negotiations, a good starting point for your desired range might be to aim for around the 75th percentile of the market rate you found.
The 75th percentile. So give me an example.
Okay, say your research for the role and location shows a typical range of $80,000 to $120,000. The 75th percentile mark is $110,000.
Right.
So you might target a range that starts around there, maybe $105,000 to $125,000. It depends a bit on the total compensation picture and how perfect a fit you are for the role.
That strategy makes sense. It gives you room to negotiate, but anchors you high based on data. Okay, now here's a really crucial tip. It came up repeatedly across the sources. Reddit, LinkedIn, Merriam-Jamil highlighted it.
Let me guess.
Never reveal your previous salary.
Absolutely critical, yes.
Yeah.
Your compensation in a new role should be based on the market value of that specific role and the value you will bring to that company going forward.
Not what you were paid before.
Exactly. It should not be anchored to what you earned in a previous job, especially if you think you were underpaid there. Revealing your past salary can really unfairly limit the company's offer.
Oh.
It can cost you significantly over time because of something called the anchoring effect.
Ah, the anchoring effect. Can you quickly explain what that means here?
Sure. The anchoring effect is basically a cognitive bias. A number mentioned early in a discussion, even if it's not really relevant, tends to disproportionately influence all the subsequent numbers in the negotiation.
So if you say your old lower salary,
that number becomes an anchor for the company. Their subsequent offers or the range they consider might be unfairly pulled down by it, even if the market rate for the new role is actually much higher. Your value is forward-looking based on this new role and your skills, not backward-looking based on salary history.
That makes perfect sense. So the ideal scenario then is to get the company to state their range first.
Ideally, yes. Let them put their stake in the ground based on their internal budget and bands for the role.
What if they push you for your expectations early on, before they even make an offer?
You can try to defer respectfully. You could say something like, I'd really like to fully understand the scope of the role and the total compensation package before discussing specific salary numbers. Or, turn the question back. What is the budgeted range for this position?
Okay, good tactics. So you've done your research, you know the market, you have a target range, you're ready to navigate the numbers talk. But just asking for more isn't enough, right? You need to justify why.
Exactly. This leads us right into quantifying your value, demonstrating impact.
Forbes was really clear on this. Just saying you're a hard worker or, have great soft skills, that's not going to cut it.
Absolutely not. You need to articulate your value with concrete evidence, data, proof.
So the winning strategy here is document tangible achievements.
You need to move beyond just listing your tasks or responsibilities. You have to show the measurable results of your work. You're essentially building a business case for yourself, and data is your strongest evidence.
What kind of achievements should someone be looking for in documenting? Like what counts?
Focus on results that positively impacted the company's bottom line or key operational metrics. How did you save money? How did you generate revenue? How did you save time or increase efficiency, improve quality, boost customer satisfaction or retention?
And the key is to quantify them, put numbers on it.
Precisely. Metrics, numbers, percentages, these are incredibly powerful. Recipit had some excellent examples of how to translate your actions into quantifiable impact.
Yeah, like instead of saying improved efficiency.
Document how your initiatives and process optimization resulted in 15% operational economy. See, specific and impactful.
Or instead of just helped with marketing.
Turn that into something concrete, like increased organic traffic by 35% and reduced customer acquisition costs by 20%. Those are clear, measurable results. Any hiring manager or HR person immediately understands the value in that.
That finance example from Forbes was also really striking.
Oh yeah, the one about reducing month-end closing time by 20 hours by implementing new Excel functions.
Right, and the result?
Generating $5 million in annual savings. The specific currency doesn't matter as much as the concept. The power is linking a technical skill, using Excel, to a time-saving 20 hours, which directly translates into a huge financial benefit for the company. You need to think about your own work in those terms.
So it's really about connecting your specific actions to the company's broader goals and then expressing that connection with numbers whenever possible.
Exactly. This is why Simran Dapar, who was mentioned at the LinkedIn source, emphasizes focusing on the why behind your ask. It's not just because you want more money. It's because your contributions, backed by this data, demonstrate that you generate significant value or save significant costs for the company, aligning with their objectives.
And the advice is to keep like a running document of these accomplishments, not just try to remember them later.
Absolutely. Maintain a file, maybe a simple document where you jot down your key projects, the specific actions you took, and the quantifiable results as they happen. Also note how they aligned with bigger company goals. This makes it so much easier to pull that data together when you're preparing for negotiation, whether it's for a new job or an internal raise review.
That Reddit anecdote you mentioned earlier about the person who used an actual presentation, documenting their value, market worth, and got a 55% raise. That's just a powerful illustration of this strategy in action. They didn't just ask. They showed their value with data.
It really demonstrates that this strategy isn't just theoretical talk. It works. And it can yield really significant results, both in landing a higher initial offer and in negotiating raises in your current role.
Okay, so you've done the research, you've quantified your value with data. Now, when do you actually have the conversation? Does timing matter?
It absolutely does. That brings us neatly to choosing your moment. Strategic timing.
Forbes pointed out that while there isn't one single magical moment, there are definitely times that are more opportune than others. This seems especially true when asking for a raise in your current role.
Yeah, you want to think about when your value to the company is most visible, or when your contributions are really fresh in everyone's mind.
Like right after a big success.
Exactly. Right after you've successfully completed a major project or achieved a significant measurable goal. Your impact is undeniable at that point.
It feels like a natural follow-up to that success.
It is. Other good times could include during the company's annual budget planning cycle, if you happen to know when that occurs. Asking when funds are actively being allocated can be strategic.
Okay.
Naturally, after receiving a really positive performance review is an excellent moment. Your contributions are officially recognized.
Makes sense.
And also, if you've taken on significant new responsibilities, maybe the team grew or someone left and you absorbed their duties and your role's scope is clearly expanded, that's a definite trigger to revisit your compensation.
And conversely, are there times to probably just hold off? Bad timing.
Definitely. You probably want to avoid asking during obvious company financial distress, like right after a round of layoffs, or if poor quarterly results were just announced.
Yeah, probably not the best time.
And periods of major organizational upheaval, like during a merger or acquisition, are also generally not ideal. You want to ask when the company is stable or ideally doing well, and when your personal value proposition is high.
Got it. And when you decide it is the right moment, how should you approach having the actual conversation? Is it just a casual chat by the water cooler?
Forbes strongly advises against that. You should request a formal meeting specifically for this discussion.
Why formal?
It signals that you view this as a serious professional matter and ensure your manager has dedicated time and their full attention for the conversation. It gives it the weight it deserves.
Okay, the timing is right. The formal meeting is scheduled now. What do you actually say? How do you start?
This is where practice becomes absolutely key. Which brings us to our next section, mastering the conversation, dialogue and delivery.
Recipford provided some fantastic examples of how to initiate these conversations, particularly for an internal raise request. They really emphasize starting respectfully but also confidently.
Yes, the language you choose matters a lot. You want to be direct enough so they know why you're there, but avoid sounding demanding or overly aggressive. Using slightly more indirect language, at least initially, can help open the discussion smoothly.
So you're definitely not walking into your manager's office and blurting out, "I want a raise."
Absolutely not, no. Rezufit gives examples like, for requesting the meeting itself. Good morning, manager's name. I'd like to schedule a meeting to discuss my performance and my future perspectives within the company. I have some specific points regarding my recent contributions and professional development that I'd like to address.
Okay, that frames it nicely. It's about performance, future, contribution, development. Salary fits naturally into that.
Exactly. It makes the salary discussion part of a bigger, more strategic picture about your role.
What about opening the conversation itself once you're actually in the meeting?
Rezufit's example, too, is great for that. Good morning, manager's name. First, I just wanted to express my appreciation for the opportunity to work on such impactful projects lately. I've been reflecting on how my contributions align with the company's strategic goals, and given my professional growth and some recent achievements, I'd like to discuss my current compensation and potential adjustments.
Notice how both of those examples start by acknowledging the relationship, expressing commitment, and then linking the desire for discussion to contributions and growth. That feels like really powerful framing.
It sets a collaborative tone right from the start, rather than an adversarial one. Now, of course, you need to be prepared for the possibility that your manager won't immediately say, yes, absolutely. You have to anticipate potential objections.
Right. What are some common ones people should expect?
Oh, budgetary limitations is a very frequent one. You hear that a lot. Or they might question the specific value you're asking for, essentially asking, why that number? How did you get there?
And Rezufit offered some strategic ways to respond to those.
Yes. For the budget issue, for instance, if they say, at the current moment, we just have budgetary limitations.
What do you do?
Rezufit's example 5 suggests acknowledging their point, but then offering a creative solution, like a phased approach.
Phased. How?
You could say something like, I completely understand the current budgetary context. However, could we perhaps explore a phased adjustment? Maybe implementing 50% of the proposed increase now, with the remaining 50% linked to achieving specific measurable goals next quarter. We're already aligned on hitting those objectives.
Ah, that's clever. It shows you're flexible, you hear they're constrained, but you're also proposing a clear path forward that's tied directly to performance. It turns a potential no into a yes if, or yes and here's how.
Exactly. It keeps the momentum going.
That's a brilliant way to handle that common objection. What about the other one, questioning the value? If they ask, how did you arrive at that specific salary figure?
Your answer needs to immediately circle back to all that preparation and data you gathered. Rezufit's example 6 provides a solid structure.
Okay, like what?
You'd say something like, I arrived at this value based on several key factors. First, robust market salary research for this specific role, accounting for our location and industry, using reliable sources like Mention Glassdoor, the Robert Half Guide, Levels.ifii, whatever you used. Second, my documented performance indicators and quantifiable achievements over the past year, such as then you cite your specific measurable impact, the 15% savings, the 35% traffic increase, etc. And third, mention any new relevant skills, certifications you've gained, or significant new responsibilities you've taken on.
So again, it all comes back to the preparation, the data. You have a factual, logical basis for your request, not just a wish.
Absolutely. And underpinning your ability to deliver this confidently and handle those responses effectively is the winning strategy highlighted across all the sources. Practice.
Right. Forbes, Rezufit, and Lisa Appia in the LinkedIn source, they all hammered this point home. Practice makes you more comfortable, more confident, more articulate.
Lisa Appia, who's a career strategist, specifically suggested practicing out loud with a friend, a mentor, or even just recording yourself on your phone.
Why record yourself?
The goal is to get comfortable with the script, the key phrases, the numbers, and crucially, how you sound. Are you sounding confident? Professional?
Yeah, pay attention to your tone. You want to sound confident and professional, not like apologetic or demanding. Forbes stressed using firm, clear language and avoiding those hesitant phrases like, I kind of feel like I deserve, or I think maybe possibly.
Right. Practice helps you internalize your key points, smooth out your delivery, and just feel generally more prepared to calmly and confidently respond to whatever comes up using the data you've already gathered.
Okay, so you're in the conversation, you're presenting your case powerfully, maybe you're even skillfully countering objections using these techniques. But what if, despite your best efforts, the base salary increase is capped or just not possible right now for whatever reason? Is that the end of the negotiation? Do you just walk away?
Not at all. Negotiation isn't solely about that base salary number. This moves us nicely into negotiating the full package beyond base salary.
Right. Sources like Carrera USA, LinkedIn, and Resufit all pointed out that a total compensation package includes way more than just your annual salary figure.
Exactly. So the winning strategy here, especially if that base salary negotiation hits a temporary wall, is to consider your options. Think of these as your plan B and plan C, as the LinkedIn source described them. There are alternative forms of compensation or benefits that still add significant value to your overall work experience and financial picture.
Okay, so what are some common examples of these alternative benefits people can negotiate for?
Flexibility is a huge one, especially now. Resufit gave this specific example of negotiating for more remote work days or a hybrid schedule, maybe asking for 3 remote days per week. Or perhaps just more flexible start and end times.
That can have a big impact on work-life balance, maybe even save money on commuting or childcare.
For sure. Professional development is another strong candidate.
How so?
It's often a win-win. You benefit from new skills, and the company benefits from your enhanced capabilities. You could negotiate for a specific budget for courses, conferences, or certifications relevant to your role and career goals.
Resufit had an example for that too, didn't they?
Yeah, asking for a specialization course in Agile project management and framing it by explaining how it would directly benefit the team's efficiency on upcoming projects. See? Mutually beneficial.
Makes sense. What about paid time off? Can you actually negotiate for more vacation days?
Yes, that's definitely on the table. Carrera USA mentioned it, and we've certainly seen anecdotes on Reddit where people successfully negotiated for extra vacation days.
Is it harder, though? Some companies seem rigid on PTO.
The Reddit discussions did note that company structures can sometimes make PTO less flexible than salary in certain organizations. However, it is absolutely a form of compensation. And if having more time off is a high priority for you, it's definitely worth asking for.
Okay. What other kinds of things might be negotiable?
The LinkedIn source mentioned quite a few others, things like commuting stipends or allowances for setting up a better home office. Sometimes you can negotiate for gaining preference or choice over specific projects you're really interested in working on.
Oh, interesting. Project choice.
Yeah, or even negotiating for more visibility within the company, perhaps mentorship opportunities with key leaders.
Those might not seem like direct cash in your pocket right away, but they contribute significantly to job satisfaction, career growth, your network, your overall well-being.
Absolutely. And the key, again, is to identify which of these alternatives are most valuable to you personally, and then, where possible, frame your ask in a way that also highlights the benefit to the company, like we saw with the professional development example.
Okay, let's pivot slightly to handle a couple of specific, sometimes challenging situations people might run into during this whole process.
Right. That leads us into handling offers and different backgrounds.
First up, what if you've already accepted a job offer, maybe verbally or even signed something, but then, boom, your dream company finally comes through with an even better offer?
Oof, yeah. That happens more often than people might think. The LinkedIn data actually touched on this. It showed that a staggering 90% of candidates would take that new, better offer from their dream company, even if they'd already said yes to another one.
That feels awkward. Is it actually okay to essentially go back on your word like that, professionally speaking?
Look, the professional world generally understands that candidates need to make decisions based on their best opportunities. While it's absolutely crucial to handle the situation professionally, communicate clearly, respectfully, and promptly with the company whose offer you're now declining.
Don't ghost them.
Definitely don't ghost them. But the winning strategy here, according to LinkedIn's analysis, is essentially to analyze your offers thoroughly and put yourself first. Your career path is ultimately your own. Accepting a significantly better offer, especially from a company that seems like a much better long-term fit, is a standard, if sometimes uncomfortable, part of navigating the job market effectively.
That perspective makes sense. It's about prioritizing your long-term career trajectory, not just avoiding an awkward phone call. Now let's touch on a more sensitive topic, addressing potential biases in the hiring and compensation process.
Yes, this is a really important point that came up in the sources. The LinkedIn data included a quite difficult statistic. 68% of candidates believe their background, specifically their race or ethnicity, has hindered their ability to get promotions or pay increases.
Wow, 68%. That's huge.
It is. And discussions on forums like Reddit also bring up other factors people feel affect their opportunities, like geographic location, age, or having a disability.
That statistic is sobering. It acknowledges that biases, whether they're conscious or unconscious, can unfortunately create very different challenges for different individuals in the workplace, and especially during compensation discussions.
It really validates that these perceptions and, frankly, experiences are very real for a large percentage of the workforce. And while the core strategies like research, quantifying value are universal, actually navigating the process might feel or be different depending on your background.
So what's the advice there?
The winning strategy offered by LinkedIn in this specific context is to take advice from people with similar backgrounds.
Meaning seek out mentors or networks, people who share similar experiences to yours.
Exactly. Connect with professionals from similar racial, ethnic, gender, or other backgrounds who have successfully navigated these kinds of career and compensation discussions. They can provide invaluable context, specific strategies that worked for them, and insights based on their lived experiences that might not be covered in general negotiation advice you read online.
So they might help you anticipate unique challenges or suggest approaches that could be more effective for you specifically.
Precisely. Learning from those who have already navigated similar hurdles can make a huge difference in building confidence and finding the right approach.
That seems like incredibly practical and empowering advice.
And the LinkedIn source actually highlighted specific tips from individuals that really underscore this idea. Miriam Jamil, for example, advised being patient, never revealing your number first. Olaseni Adeniji emphasized doing peer-based research to understand rates for people like you, and finding the confidence to ask for your true worth even when the number feels personally high based on your history.
And there was Harlany Vasquez, right?
Yeah.
About mindset.
Yes, shifting your internal belief system. Moving from seeing negotiation as a problem or a conflict to recognizing it's an expected part of the professional process where you actually hold power.
Lisa Appia had practical tips for introverts, like practicing by recording yourself to build comfort and refine your tone and delivery.
And Simran Dupar brought it back full circle to the why, using your data, your metrics, to clearly explain the value behind your ask. These individual perspectives, shared within the source material, provide these diverse voices on how to approach the challenge, which is really, really valuable.
Those are powerful personal strategies. They complement the more data-driven techniques we've discussed. They remind us that negotiation isn't just about the numbers. It's also deeply about mindset, communication, and sometimes finding tailored advice.
Absolutely. And leveraging the experience and wisdom of others who understand your specific context is a key part of building both your confidence and your strategy.
All right, so we've walked through the why, the critical preparation, the conversation itself, handling objections, looking beyond base salary, and navigating some tricky scenarios. What happens when the discussion finally wraps up? What are the final crucial steps?
Okay, that brings us to the last main section, closing the loop, final steps and follow-up.
So the conversation is ending. Maybe it felt really successful, maybe it was a bit tougher. What's next?
Regardless of the outcome, it's crucial to conclude professionally. You want to show gratitude for the manager's time and the discussion itself, and, really importantly, establish clear next steps. This prevents any ambiguity later on. Russ have provided some good examples for how to do this effectively.
Look, what if the negotiation went well and you basically agreed on new terms?
Okay, so for a positive conclusion, Razufit's example 9 suggests outlining what happens next to confirm understanding. You might say something like, "Thank you again for this really productive conversation and for agreeing to briefly summarize the key agreed points, the new salary, the remote days, the training budget, whatever it was. My understanding is that the next steps are then you outline the agreed actions, like I'll send a follow-up email summarizing this, or HR will send updated paperwork, or we'll set a review time frame for next quarter." Does that sound right to you?
Okay, so you confirm everything clearly and it shows you're organized and professional about it.
Exactly. It locks it in.
What if you need a little time to think about their offer or maybe their counter offer? You don't have to decide right there on the spot.
No, that's perfectly fine and quite common. Rizafit's example 10 is helpful here. Politely state you need a few days to consider everything that was discussed, and this is key, agree on a specific date for your response.
How would you phrase that?
Something like, "I really appreciate you walking through the offer and discussing these possibilities with me today. I'd like to take a couple of days to carefully review everything we've discussed. Would it be okay if I get back to you with my definitive answer by, say, end of day Tuesday?"
Clear, respectful, and it sets a definite expectation. Setting that specific date is important, right? So you don't just leave them hanging indefinitely.
Exactly. It shows you're serious and respect their process too. And underpinning the conclusion, no matter the immediate outcome, is the absolutely critical step of documentation is key. Both Rezufit and Forbes really stress the importance of sending a follow-up email soon after the meeting.
An email summarizing what?
Summarizing the agreed-upon terms and any action items.
Yeah.
So outlining the new salary, any bonus structure changes, the vacation days, the remote work agreement, the professional development budget, whatever was actually agreed upon during the conversation.
Why is that email so important?
It serves as a formal, written record of the conversation and the outcome. It helps prevent any misunderstandings or he said, she said situations down the line. It ensures that everything agreed to verbally is captured clearly in writing for both sides.
Okay, makes sense. Now, what happens if, after all your preparation, all your data, the great conversation, your request for a raise or a higher offer is ultimately denied?
That can happen, of course. Forbes gives some good advice here. Don't just see it as a dead end. Try to turn the no into a potential roadmap for a future yes.
How do you do that?
Ask your manager clarifying questions. Okay, I understand it's not possible right now. What specific criteria or metrics or achievements would make an increase possible in the future? See if they can provide concrete goals or performance indicators you need to hit.
So you're asking for specifics.
Yes. And then try to establish a time frame to revisit the conversation. Maybe in 6 months or at the next performance review cycle, contingent upon you meeting those newly defined criteria. This shows you're still committed to growth, you accept the current decision, but you want clear targets to work towards for the future.
That reframes a denial from just being a rejection into being potentially a clear path forward with measurable steps.
It does. It keeps the door open for the future and provides a level of accountability for both you and the company in terms of what needs to happen for your compensation to increase down the line.
Okay. And finally, there was that note of caution we saw from the online forums from Reddit that kind of balances the overall always negotiate message just slightly.
Yes, that's right. There was an anecdote shared where a candidate, unfortunately, had their job offer rescinded.
Why? What happened?
They pushed for a very small additional increase after the company had already come back with an offer that actually exceeded the candidate's own initially stated maximum salary expectation.
So the company met or even beat the top number the candidate themselves had put out there.
Exactly. And the candidate still pushed for a tiny bit more. While negotiation is expected and absolutely encouraged, there's an element of strategic awareness involved. If the company has already come back with an offer that meets or beats the top of the range you yourself provided based on your thorough research, continuing to push aggressively for very minor increments might, in some rare cases, signal unrealistic expectations, or perhaps make them feel like you'll be difficult to satisfy. It's about understanding when you've actually achieved a really great outcome relative to your goals and the market data.
That's a really nuanced but important point. It highlights that while you should always aim to negotiate, it's a skill that involves judgment, knowing your value, knowing the market, and also recognizing when to successfully close the deal.
Absolutely. It's about being well-prepared, confident, and professional while also being strategic in reading the situation.
Okay, so to try and bring this all together, the essential strategies that we've really unpacked today are, first, overcome the fear that data overwhelmingly shows you really must always negotiate. Second, lay that crucial groundwork with solid market research so you truly know your worth. Third, quantify your value. Don't just talk about it. Document your tangible achievements with hard data.
Then choose your moment strategically, especially when asking for internal raises. Master the actual conversation through preparation and practice, including having responses ready for objections. Look beyond just the base salary. Consider the full compensation package, the benefits, the flexibility.
Right. Analyze any offers thoroughly, especially if you have multiple, and prioritize your own career path. And importantly, seek advice and leverage the experiences of others who share your background, particularly if you anticipate or encounter unique challenges.
It's so true. Negotiating your salary is just far more than a simple transaction for a bit more cash right now. It's really a fundamental investment in your entire professional journey, your whole career trajectory.
Because that initial difference, the one you secure through informed negotiation, it just compounds over time.
Yeah, potentially leading to significantly higher lifetime earnings and often greater job satisfaction along the way, too.
It really boils down to understanding your true market value and then having the confidence and the tools to advocate for that value professionally and effectively.
And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with, kind of building on that powerful statistic we started with.
Okay.
If As all the data clearly indicates, 84% of employers expect candidates to negotiate. What does it truly communicate about the value you place on your own skills, your expertise, your future contributions? If you choose not to participate in that conversation, they're actually anticipating.
That's a powerful question. Mastering the skill really does shift the dynamic, doesn't it? From passively just accepting whatever is offered to actively shaping your own compensation and your career path based on the real value you bring to the table. Definitely something worth thinking about as you go forward.
We really hope this deep dive provides you with the clarity, the confidence, and maybe most importantly, the concrete strategies you need to successfully negotiate your next job offer or your next internal raise discussion. Go get the compensation you deserve.
Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you on the next one.